Hey, business besties and creative bosses. So fun to say that. Welcome. Hi. So I have a question for you all. How many of you are using for Pinterest for something other than just looking for recipes or looking for those inspirational quotes and using it to grow your business or your brand? And how many of you feel like either you have so many passions you don't know what to focus on, what it is you're supposed to do and how they all connect, or you feel like you don't know what you're supposed to do and you maybe feel like, do you even have a passion? I know both of these topics don't feel like or sound like they're related at all, but I promise I'm going to connect them for you, because this week I'm very excited. I have Pinterest and branding expert Claire Drake over on the blog, and I interviewed her. And Claire is a branding and Pinterest expert. She helps creative, ambitious women to use Pinterest to grow their business, their personal brand, and their blog. And she is giving us a really great insight into Pinterest, into the platform, into how to use it. She's sharing some tips and tools, especially for people who maybe are just starting to dip their toes into Pinterest, how to use it and utilize it for business growth. She's had amazing results with Pinterest herself. I think she said that she grew her list to over 1,000 people in just 4 to 5 months using Pinterest. I know this is the platform you have to use to get success overnight. This isn't an interview like that, but she's just really giving some awesome tips to help all of you. So I'm really excited about that. It's a really great one. I've left you a link for that if you want to check out Claire's interview. And I also dropped a link to her website so you can head over there. She's got some free gifts and just a wealth of information. So be sure to show her some love and to listen to that. Part of what we talk about on the interview, and that's what I wanted to dive in a little bit more today, part of what we talk about, I always ask everyone what their version of success is, what success means to them, and how grit has played a part of this, into this. So for those of you who have been a part of my world, you probably have heard me talk about this before. You might be sick of it already. But I'm a big believer that we all have our own version of success and that we can all create that. And I think this can be an easy thing to say, that yes, success is different for all of us, but I think it's really easy for a lot of us to get stuck into the shoulds of what we think success should look like, or what we think, not just what we think we're supposed to do, but even when we're doing that, what we think it's supposed to look like. It's supposed to be, in our businesses, for example, it's supposed to be a very certain, whether it's the number of clients or the way we have clients or the way we have courses or programs, or we're supposed to be on certain platforms, or we're supposed to make a certain amount of money. So I think we can really get stuck in that and lose sight of what our personal version of success is. And I think that's where we can suddenly find ourselves on the wrong ladder, climbing, pushing really hard, and we get to the top and we don't even want to be there. So I think it's so important we all get clear on what success looks for us personally. And I think a big part of creating that version of success, I think we're all capable of creating whatever that is of course mindset. I'm big on mindset, but is also that grit, that passion, and that long-term perseverance towards that long-term goal. And so I love to ask people who come onto these interviews how grit has played a part in that version of success for them. And what I find is fascinating is that everyone I've interviewed, there's a couple live on my website, but I record these ahead of time, so I have quite a few others that I've done. And almost everyone I've interviewed has said something to the fact of that success today doesn't look like what they thought it was. It's not what they expected to be. It's not what they were doing or what they were pursuing 5-10 years ago. Almost all of them say that their business or their creative work now is very different than what it started out as. So many of them talk about having this period of time where they were completely lost and they felt like they were flailing and they felt like they didn't know what they were doing, and they had so many things they wanted to do but they didn't know what it was. And so many of them talk about how all of those things at the time were very frustrating, but how much they now play a piece into, their version of success or what they're doing. And that's what I want to talk a little bit more about today, the idea that success isn't linear, and that our passion, and our passion that feeds that version of success for us, that's also not linear. It's an evolution. And I think there's a bit of a misnomer that we all just, and I've talked about this before, but that we just come out of the womb knowing exactly what our passion is and exactly what we're supposed to do with our lives. And I don't think it works that way. I think there are a few select people out there who just happen to know from an early age, but most likely if they do, it's because they were exposed to a lot of things even earlier to find that passion. But for most of us, passion and finding whatever that version of success for is very much a path of trying a whole bunch of things, trying a bunch of things and failing, or finding out we don't like them, or finding out they don't work, or being on that path for a while with them and having that open us up to or morph into something we could have never expected or known had we not tried whatever it was that we were on the path of. Angela Duckworth, who I'm obsessed with her work, she's the pioneer in grit. She's created a grit scale. She's done a great TED Talk. She's written a great book. She talks about this in her book, where all about grit. She talks about people that she followed who are very passionate people and who are living their passion and essentially their version of success and the grit that got them there. So many of them talk about how they find their passion as being something they didn't know, and they tried quite a few different things and they followed the spark. So they followed whatever lit them up and sparked them, and they followed that, and that led to whatever their current day, their passion is. And I think this is so important to know, because I know when I was in transition trying to figure out what was next for me and what my version of success was, and I know for so many of the clients I talk to, there can be this feeling of failure, or this feeling of like there's something wrong with us because we're not passionate about something, we don't know what's next, or it doesn't look the way we think it's going to. And I think knowing that that is part of it, that passion and that version of success, that it is an evolution and it's something we don't arrive at. It continues to evolve. And the more we're on that path, the more we're taking action, the more we're moving forward, the more we get to uncover and discover different things and discover aspects of whether it's that version of success or passion that we didn't know existed before. I think it's a little bit like dating. Hear me out on this one, but I think it's a little bit like dating. I think, yes, of course, there's unicorns among us who find our soulmates from an early age and stay with them for the rest of our lives. But I think for a lot of us, in order to find that person or have that relationship that really works for us, we have to go out and date a bunch of people. We sometimes have to get our heart broken. We sometimes have to break up with someone because we find out it doesn't work for us. But we always go into those relationships thinking they're going to work, thinking this is the one, like putting ourselves out there. And it's through that putting ourselves out there, through that being willing to go on those dates that maybe kind of suck, willing to get our heart broken, it's through that we're able to then meet someone that we really connect with and can have that lasting relationship with, or that love with. And I think passion and our version of success is very much in our businesses. I think they're very much the same way. It's being open to going on that path, being open to dating those different ideas, being open to dating those different passions that we find it. It's not something that we just get smacked in the head with and find from day one. So I wanted to share all of that with you today because I've definitely heard it coming up with a few people, and it's something that came up in the interview. And if you want, who just joined, hey Emily, we're talking about versions of success and passion, and not coming out of the womb knowing what our passion is, and that success is not a linear path, that success is very much a journey and something that we find along the way. It's something we find by going out and trying things and often falling on our face and then trying something else and seeing what unfolds along the way. And I wanted to share this with everyone today because I think it's definitely something that resonates with me. It's definitely something that I would not be where I am today had I not tried on a whole bunch of hats that didn't work for me, that didn't resonate, that were in air quotes failures. But by going through those different trials, I found something I'm really passionate about. But even in where I'm at today, it's still not holding on to this being the end all be all, and being open to knowing that it can be something different down the road. So I want to just leave you all with the thought that if you're floundering, if you're feeling a little bit like, I don't know what I'm doing, what's next, to know that if you're feeling that way, you're very much in the right place. You're where you're supposed to be. That's exactly how it should feel. So if you're feeling that floundering, feeling that way, keep putting one foot in front of the other. That is how you find that passion. That is how you find what your version of success. And if you're in your air quotes version of success, if you're working on your passion, if you're working on your dream, if you very much know what it is, I'd really love to invite you to have the capacity, and yes, of course, plan, yes, of course, visualize, yes, of course, go forward and move towards it, but to see if you can let go of some of those expectations of how it's supposed to look like and what it's supposed to look like next, because it really is in that space where we try and we allow things to happen that we can find experiences, that we can find versions of success, that we can find passions, opportunities, people that we would have never been open to or never been exposed to had we not taken that step. And so things don't always look the way we expect them to. My life definitely doesn't look the way I expected it to 5 years ago, and I'm sure in 5 years it won't look the way I expect it to. So I wanted to leave you with both of those thoughts today, whichever side you're on. So I hope that resonates with all of you. And if you also want to check out that Pinterest information and you want to learn a little bit more about how to use Pinterest to grow your business, how to use Pinterest to grow your blog, how to use Pinterest to grow your brand, by all means, I would love to have you hop over to the website, catch that interview with Claire. She's sharing so much awesome insight and tips into that. And she's also talking about what we're talking about today, just part of her journey and part of what her path to her version of success has been and how that has evolved and changed over time. That is what I've got for you today. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining. Thanks for dealing with the technical difficulties since this crashed, I think 4 times. So thanks for dealing with that. I am wishing you a beautiful, beautiful weekend, and I'm wishing you your version of success. Lots of love. And how do I stop this?